I got some issues that I ain't resolved yet, so I don't want you to get involved yet. Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution, shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no, but I'm falling. Late nights, you the one. I be
Yo, what is up, Diamond family? It's your man Vivi, and welcome back to the VVS Academy. As you guys know, I'm here every week dropping off gems, teaching you to record and mix your music better. So if that sounds good to you, stick around, man. Look, I got a really crazy video for you guys today. You seen the title, you heard the track already. We're mixing R&B vocals. Not that trappy side, more of the soulful R&B vocals right now. We're not even going to over talk it, man. We're going to jump right into the track. But look, if you're still struggling to get your vocals to sit inside the beat, balance themselves out perfectly every single time, you got to check out my free course down below. It's going to completely change the game for you, teach you my simple technique of balancing out the vocals and the beat perfectly every single time. It takes about 15 minutes. It's completely free, so check that out down below. All right, let's dive into this track, man. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strip back all of the plugins that we used and just listen to the vocal on its own so we can kind of get a good sense of where we started from. So I'm going to bypass the effects like the reverb and echoes and everything. Then I'm also going to come here and bypass all of the vocal effects. So I use the VMR. I'm just going to switch to this version where it's just the gain. Basically, it's just the channel strip that's turning the volume up on the vocal a little bit. And the rest of these we're going to bypass. So hang on. All right, bet. Now let's listen to our vocal again.
I got some issues that I ain't resolved yet, so I don't want you to get involved yet. Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And you can really hear right here when he gets to the "but you don't hit me up often," like you can really hear the vocal dip. Let me bring the beat in so you can really get a feel for that.
Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often.
It's almost like he turned his head and said, "But you don't hit me." Like it's like he came and got closer to the mic halfway through the phrase. So one of our goals is definitely to clean that up. So let's hear again what everything sounds like with everything, because I want to make the point that you shouldn't mix your vocal in solo, right? So the way I mix vocals is definitely to with the beat on, because you don't listen to a song in solo. You listen to a song as a whole, and so you want to mix your song as a whole, because the effects or the changes you make to the vocal are going to be influenced by the way the track sounds, how dynamic the beat is, the frequencies that are there, that kind of thing. So you don't want to get caught up in just making a vocal sound good on its own. You want it to sound how it should in the context of a mix. So listen to the vocal, because I want you to hear that it doesn't sound much different than it did before.
I got some issues that I ain't resolved yet, so I don't want you to get involved yet. Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution, shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no, but I'm falling. Late nights, you the one. I be calling.
And did you catch where the vocal dipped and how it doesn't anymore? Watch this.
Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution.
Remember how that "but you don't hit me up" was sounding like he was walking up to the mic as he said it, and now you can't really tell that he moved. And that's the beauty of processing a vocal. That's what you want to do when you're mixing your vocal. You want to take away those inconsistencies to make sure that every word, every nuance, everything comes across to the listener the way that you intended, or the artist intended for it to sound. So let's dive into what we did exactly to this vocal. Let's start at the VMR. That's the first thing we added. And we started off with some compression, just a regular 1176 compressor. I use this vintage version. You can use the CLA version. There's UAD plugins, any version of a 76 compressor. I'm gonna let you see it's kind of doing a lot of work. Watch.
Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And also, that's the other thing I want to point out. When we get to that line, "but you don't hit me up often," you'll notice that at first the needle doesn't move at all. And when you dial in your compression, you want it to be some instances where the needle doesn't move at all. Those sections are only getting turned up by the makeup game, but they're not being turned down at all. So watch this again.
Only feel good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution, shawty's hot like Austin.
And so that's our compressor settings. We're actually mixing the compressor just a little bit. So 19% of the original dry signal is added to the compressor, just to kind of not do quite as much compression. So I love to have the mix knob on the compressor using Slate. We followed that up with the Pultec EQ, man. And I love this compressor for cleaning up the low end in a vocal. So watch what happens when we take this compressor. EQ, I said compressor. Watch what happens when we take this EQ away.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And now let's bring this back.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And so what this EQ did was kind of thin out the low end, keep it from being super bassy, but still keep it present. So if you listen really quickly, you might not even notice the change, before and after. But if you listen to it closely, you'll notice that the low end is still there, but it's not as boomy. It's not as full. Watch again.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin. Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like.
And so what that is doing is it's making the signal actually less dynamic because we're turning down those low frequency kind of spikes and jumps in the vocal. And so this following compressor just doesn't have to work as hard. It's more transparent and the vocal gets controlled a little more naturally versus sounding kind of over compressed or over processed, right? So we followed up the Pultec EQ with the SSL EQ. And I don't really know if this is really used for vocals like that. Well, it says it's got a couple of vocals, but I just like the way this compressor works. I like the way it sounds. I generally keep it at a 5-to-1 ratio that it comes with. You generally keep the release kind of where it is as well. And I just mess with the fast button, the hard button, and the threshold. So let's see. We're probably going to get maybe 3 dB of gain reduction.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
Okay, so maybe a little bit more. We're getting 6 dB at some points just on the peaks, but listen without it.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution.
You see how noticeable that "but you don't hit me up" got? Just by taking away this one compressor, that dip in volume got way more noticeable. And those are the things that make your vocal sound inconsistent and unprofessional. You got to make sure that it's controlled very well, very, very precise with how you control your vocal. Watch again with it.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often.
Let's go without it.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution.
Right, so remember, each compressor and EQ is doing a very specific job. It's really doing its work to hold the vocal in place where we need it to go. So I followed that up with another EQ, which is the Custom Series EQ. Now this one, I don't think there's an alternative. I think this is kind of a Slate Digital exclusive, but the low end band up here, the high pass filter, like the roll off, is the smoothest. I don't know what kind of curve they have there, but you can go super high without making your vocal sound thin. So I'm going to bypass this again. You're going to hear a lot more low end in the vocal, and then I'll bring it back.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
And so you can hear those boominess on the Austin, when he hits those low notes, you can hear the transient kind of jump out, you can hear the punch of it. And so it's messing with the control, or it's keeping the vocal from staying consistent. So when we bring this back, you'll notice those things go away.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
And it just keeps your vocal smoother. The thing that we're trying to do is we don't want any spikes, any transients to kind of stick out and make the vocal jump up in a noticeable, audible way. Of course, we can't eliminate every single transient. The vocal is still going to move up and down, but it does so in a minimal way so that you don't hear it. It doesn't attack your ears and sound like the artist is kind of moving the mic, forward and back from themselves as they speak. So we only use this one band on this EQ, and then we follow it up with an LA2A, and I'll let you see what kind of peak reduction we're getting.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
And then the last thing on the channel was just some low end saturation. So you can use kind of any saturator that you like. I like to use the Revival because it lets you choose between if you want to add some low end or thickness and some high end or shimmer. So I didn't add any high end to this vocal. You can see in all the EQs. Well, no, I did. I added some 10K Here I added 4 dB of 10K, but also, no, I didn't attenuate at all. So I just added 4 dB of 10K. And so I didn't really need anything here. But I did add a little bit of thickness bottom end, because if I take it away, the vocal just gets a little bit more thin than I want.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no.
Cool. So that joint is already sounding crazy, right? Then we needed to finish up the vocal. So we added fresh air just to add a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of upper saturation. Remember, I didn't use the shimmer before. And really because fresh air is just a great tool for doing that. It also added a tiny bit of volume, but you can hear what it's doing. Let's bypass it.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And it's like he took a little bit of a step forward with his vocal. So we did add a little bit of volume, but more importantly, we added that high-end saturation that we were really looking for. And the thing about Fresh Air is it's free. So if you don't have Slate Digital, or if you don't have this plugin, go and download it right now, man. It's completely free, and it's a great saturation box for vocals. It's very easy to overdo, so go easy with it. Like, I don't usually go past 10 on either of these knobs, but it's a great tool to use. So we followed that up with 2 EQs. And they might be doing the same thing. I might have just made a mistake and copied the same EQ twice. Oh, no, I didn't. I did 2 different EQs here. So let's see what's happening with these.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution.
And so that kind of mid-rangey, lower mid-range frequency was just getting too built up. And so we cut that out. And I think we also did another cut in that same frequency range. It's a little bit higher here. And then we did one lower as well. Let's listen to those frequencies.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no, but I'm.
And I know you guys always hear me talk about adding the gain back when you EQ, but I didn't do it in this instance because remember, when I added the fresh air, it added some volume and I didn't trim it back. I didn't take the volume away. So I'm just kind of like making up for that at this stage. Then followed up with one of my favorite vocal compressors. This is the RVox. This is really one of the only like couple of Waves plugins that I think are like worth your time and energy. RVox is a great one. We're doing very little compression, 1.5 dB, and you can hear it.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
And then, I mean, that's just adding a little bit more control, but really the RVox adds color. It adds saturation. It adds a certain flavor to the vocal that you kind of don't get with any other plugin. So we ran with the RVox and then we finished it out with just a de-esser, man. De-esser is super clutch because if you hear he's saying a lot of S's, and those things can really distract and get in the way of the vocal if you don't control them. So let's bypass this de-esser and see what it's actually doing.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no, but I'm.
Especially when he hits the Austin, you can hear a lot of the S's, and this de-esser is just controlling it in a very transparent and natural way. It doesn't sound like he has a lisp or anything like that. It just sounds clean and clear, and that's what we wanted. So let's hear it again.
Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution. Shawty's hot like Austin.
Yeah. So as you can hear, man, this song sounds like a record. It sounds like an incredible track. It sounds full. It sounds smooth. It's giving you all those vibes that you need from R&B tracks, and this is how you get it. So let's recap and talk about exactly what we added. First, let's count up and see how many plugins we actually used. So within the VMR, we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we use Fresh Air as 8, EQ as 9, and 10, and we could have really put those into one plugin, so we'll just count that as 1, as 9. The RVox is 10, and the de-esser is 11. So really keep a couple of things in mind, man, as you're trying to mix these vocals. The first thing I would say is compress in stages. Don't try to let one compressor handle all of the control for the vocal. Make sure that you add a compressor, and as you compress, you're going to notice frequencies stand out differently. So then you might want to follow up with an EQ. And as you follow up with an EQ, you'll notice that, hey, I revealed other dynamic issues that need to be controlled. So you can follow that EQ with another compressor. And as you compress again, it's going to bring out some more frequencies that you didn't really notice before, or they weren't as big of an issue before. So you're going to have to EQ. And so it's like a trade-off, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you get to a place where you really, the vocal is held in place. It sounds good. It's cutting, and it gives your track the sound and the feeling that it needs. So look, man, these are the tips I'm giving you guys week in and week out. And if you need a little bit more help, drop me a line down below. My name is Vivi, and I'm here for you. Remember, stay humble, make diamonds only. Peace.
I got some issues that I ain't resolved yet, so I don't want you to get involved yet. Only for good when we talking, but you don't hit me up often. Caution, caution, shawty's hot like Austin. Fuck no, but I'm falling. Late nights, you the one.